Cloud. Perfect. Okay. Okay, so as we go through the Google form, you can see most of you did pretty well in the first few questions. Number 7 is kind of interesting. Number 8 is even more interesting, and so it's number 9. So let's talk about those couple of questions. I think might be good, but this is, it's good data to see. So you start off really well. This is reading comprehension. If you look at what those questions were about, you see number 1's like dealing with vocabulary. Likewise, number 2. Number 3 is a 1915 poem, but you did fine there. 4 is asked for main purpose, as well as 5 and maybe 6. Okay, well, 6 is a little different. But let's take a look at 7. Let's see here. Yes. Well, actually 8, 9. Let's look at 8, 9. That's probably better. And then we're going to talk about these types of questions later today. So how would I put it's a little dense. It involves science, right? So it says here, which finding, if true, would most directly support the researcher's claim? So we got to figure out what the claim is first. What is, the author, what the researcher claiming? And then we want to be able to support that. What would provide the right evidence? So I'll just read it. Carbon dioxide emissions are known to have harmful environmental effects. Because the cement industry is one of the biggest producers of carbon dioxide emissions, developing more sustainable processes for manufacturing cement is of major concern. Researchers at Columbia University have developed a method that uses seawater to make cement by converting magnesium ions, which are highly abundant in the oceans, into magnesium hydroxides that can be turned to magnesium-based cement. According to researchers, okay, not only does the resulting cement not produce carbon dioxide, but it can actually improve the environment. Okay, so the claim is using seawater, right, to make cement. And why does it do that? Because it converts magnesium ions, which are abundant in the oceans, into magnesium hydroxides, which can then be turned to magnesium-based cement. And so apparently that's not producing carbon dioxide. Okay, so that's so we want to pick something that would support that, right? So let's look at the choices. The magnesium-based cement is more energy intensive than it's not sure how that would help with reducing carbon dioxide. Cement is traditionally produced from carbon rather than magnesium. That could work. That could work because we're trying to reduce carbon dioxide, and if magnesium is produced from carbon traditionally, then we're using this not traditional. I think that could make sense. For C, the magnesium-based cement consumes. Well, actually, that might be a little better, actually. So notice I was leaning towards B, but I feel better about C. Because if it's consuming it, that means carbon dioxide is not being released, right? And magnesium-based cement is consuming it, that would actually, because it says here, does not produce carbon dioxide, right? The resulting cement does not do that. And so that's kind of what they're saying in C. Cement made from seawater is less costly to produce than cement made. That's great, but it's not about money. It's about carbon dioxide. We got to stay focused on this one, right? So I would probably lean towards C in that one, just because that's what they're trying to say. So now number 9, we're going to talk about this today as well. This is where we use data, right? So which choice most effectively uses data? And then we'll move on to grammar after this. Which choice most effectively uses data from the table to support the research team's conclusion? Okay. So one thing you could do with these questions, if you so desire, you could just not read and look at the data. And sometimes that could work because you might see a choice that doesn't line up with the data, like it's just false and just eliminate it. But there's a good chance that all 4 are probably true for the data. So you really have to look at the blurb and make sure, okay, are we actually answering that question, the conclusion, right? But before I do that, it's good to have some intimate knowledge with this data, right? Like what's going on with this data here? They're surveying people with and without intention training. So trained students, control group, okay, pre and post test. So if your mind wanders in daily life, which is a lot that does for a lot of us, right? During class, a lot happens to my students a lot. During homework, okay. And it's a 1 to 4 scale. So let's now look at the reading here. Students have demonstrated that adolescents are experiencing increasing levels of distraction, okay, such as mind wandering, which can harm their ability to learn and perform academic tasks. The psychologists and colleagues conducted a study to determine whether attention training, which teaches how to be mindful and disengage with distractions, can improve students' level of focus. Students across 3 high schools were assigned a digital course that took place over 22 days. Okay. They took a pre-test before and post-test after. These results were compared to pre and post-tests over the same time from a control group who were not assigned any training whatsoever. Okay. Um, the team concluded that attention training was effective in improving student attention, noting that, okay,
Do you guys get it for that thus far? Like just reading it and like it was comfortable for everybody? Yeah. Okay. Was any questions? Yeah. Okay.
my mind wanders too when I read this stuff sometimes. So I have to really stay focused, and that's why I try to read slowly. So now the only thing I'm a little confused about, which might be a flaw in the way the question is designed, they didn't tell us if 1 is good or 6 is good. Like, I don't know. I'm guessing the higher the scale, the more your mind wanders, I'm guessing. Because 3.51 is less than 3.55, 2.37 is less than 2.56. And if you're trained to not, if you're trained to disengage from distraction, so you're trained to focus, then maybe the train should be a lower number, right? I mean, they should have told us that, but
Yeah.
anyway, this from Princeton Review, maybe they messed up. So, but anyway, if you look at the last sentence, the team concluded that attention training was effective in improving student attention, noting that you probably want to say that, yeah, your mind wanders less if you're trained compared to when you're not trained. And actually, if you take the pre and post test, you're probably going to do a little better, right? So let's look at part A. Both the students who have been trained and control group saw a decrease in mind. Well, it's really more, we want to focus on attention training. We don't care about the control group. Okay, I like B. Students that completed training decreased in mind wandering in daily life from 3.5 to 3.38 on average, while those who hadn't been trained had increased in, okay, B could work. Let's look at C. Students received attention training initially rated their mind wandering during classes 2.37, and they rated their mind wandering during homework. Yeah, but you want to say how it's better, right? Like, why is attention training better than not having it, right? And B kind of shows that. Finally, for D, students that completed attention training began at 3.51 and reduced an average of 2 point. That's not true. That was during class. It's a different scale. That's totally misinterpreting the data.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how we want to compare it. So B uses the data correctly and actually answers the question. We're going to talk about that later today. Okay.
So do you see that how some can be right? Like the data, actually it was true, but it wasn't answering the question.
Right.
So they're trying to slip you up because you're nervous.
Mhm.
And they're saying, okay, let's give you something that's true and see if we can catch you, as opposed to what really answers the question.
Correct. Yeah. And yeah, and the answers were C and B for those two. So again, looking at the data, again, you know, just want to make sure we're comfortable with that. And then number 11, let's look at number 11. That was great. It was awesome. Yeah, you guys knew how to complete the text. So it looks like things that are a little bit more dense, a little more involved. We'll probably spend more time on that. I think that's a good idea. And then grammar, I'm actually kind of curious about that, especially punctuation. Yeah, yeah, please, yes, go ahead. Mhm. Yeah, number 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I picked B for that one. I was just confused why A is more relevant.
Hit D, okay. So you want to logically complete the text, okay. The hippocampus is one of the major components of the human brain. When people suffer from Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia, the hippocampus is often the first area of the brain to display damage. The most common symptoms of early stage Alzheimer's are short-term memory loss, difficulty learning new information, and disorientation, suggesting that that the hippocampus is responsible for those things. That's why, I mean, without looking at the choices, I'm trying to answer my own words. I haven't looked at the choices yet. It's the first time I've seen this question, by the way. I haven't seen it before. But they're saying that the hippocampus is the first area of the brain to display damage. And when they say early stage Alzheimer's, short-term memory loss, difficulty learning new information, disorientation, if I connect those two, I'm going to guess the hippocampus is responsible for strong short-term memory, for ability to learn new information, to stay oriented, right? The hippocampus is good for those things. So if you're damaging the hippocampus, then of course you're not going to remember short-term stuff. Of course you're not going to learn new information. Of course you're going to feel disoriented. So that's why I'm going to pick something that says that. If I look at A, there you go. Hippocampus plays a role in forming short-term memory, retaining new information. That's a connection we have to make. So basically what you're doing is, this is the beauty about Zoom, I can do this. The first area, and you have this. So you need to link that hippocampus, short-term, new information. Now for D, many parts of the brain are affected. That is true. Oh, B, sorry, that's a D. Alzheimer's disease is probably diagnosed by examining. It can be. I think that would be smart to do. But it's not directly connecting those two. It really needs to be very black and white. It's probably diagnosed. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you. I think that would make sense. It's kind of a tricky one because I can see why you would lean towards it. I just think A is stronger. Mhm.
Like, oh, like probably the most primary way to.
Got it. Um, the one thing I will say about the reading comprehension is that if you have a certain word that is a little too, it's not really extreme. If they said is for sure or definitely diagnosed, definitely eliminate it because they really don't want that either. They don't want extreme choices. Even though I did say we want for, go for black and white. What I mean by that is more, you got to use the evidence there to pick your answer. And that evidence is, we just extracted it from the passage. So, but I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, of course. Writing. Let's see if what's let's look at 3. Ooh, let's look at 5. Okay. And 9. Okay, so 3, 5, 9. Let's look at those two, and then we'll move on to math. Okay, 3, 5, 9.
Can I ask a quick
Yeah,
question?
go ahead. Yeah.
When you guys looked at the answer sheet and saw you were wrong, when you went back, were you able to figure out why you were wrong? Or was it still like what you said, Allison, you couldn't quite, with 12, it still was a mystery? Did most of them, when you looked at the answer and go back and reread the question, did it make sense or not so much?
I feel like for the reading it did, but for the math, for me, like when I saw the answers and I tried to figure it out, I like to.
That's what had me. I'm gonna show you strategies. So, yes.
Okay,
I could understand the English, but the math, I just couldn't.
looking at the answers was no real help.
I just didn't know how to like solve. It's like obviously math, like algebra and geometry, there's like different ways that you solve things. I just saw new things that I hadn't seen before.
Okay.
Also, some of you are taking Alto 2 this year, so you may not have seen the stuff. So I have to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
That's okay. Because I'm gonna teach you those things. So now see, I got short-term memory loss because I have 3 small kids. I forgot already what we're gonna talk about. My long-term memory was great, but okay, so 3, 5, 9. That's what I said. Okay, great. Let's look at that. Let's see if there's anything else. No.
This
5,
is
9.
really great, by the way.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to keep experimenting different ways of reporting or self-reporting, but for now this works pretty well.
Yeah.
Okay, 3. Ooh, good one. Okay, punctuation. So if you look at all the choices, they're all using the same word, but one has a comma, one does not, one has a colon, one has a semicolon. They all serve different purposes. Let's read it first, and we'll talk about the purpose of these punctuation marks. Sometimes, as in the case of Michelangelo's famous sculpture, David, the cleaning and restoration of artworks is a simple matter. Applying chemicals, washing away grime, and scrubbing off dirt. Okay, right off the bat, I know the answer is C. I know it's C because you're listing 3 things. When you're listing, you got to go colon. Yeah.
Well, I knew that it was C just because I use it, but like, what's the difference between a semicolon and?
Great question.
I have trouble with that, and
And like, I don't know, like I naturally instinctively know that it's that, but I don't know why.
Okay, a semicolon is like a period. Anything you say before and after a semicolon must be a complete sentence. So if you look at after the semicolon, applying chemicals, washing away grime, and scrubbing off dirt, that's not a complete sentence. You don't have a
no
subject.
subject verb, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the problem. Because you wouldn't say a sentence like that, right? It wouldn't be complete. So that's the reason why.
So when it's not complete, you use,
To use a semicolon, whatever is said before and after must be a complete sentence. Subject and a verb. For example, if you look over here, like sometimes, as in the case of Michelangelo's famous sculpture David, the cleaning restoration of artworks is a simple matter. Okay, so if you look at right here, right, if I were to put a period here, and simple matter, right? Okay, So if I look at this subject, the subject is a cleaning and restoration. That process of cleaning and restoration is the subject. The word is your verb. Complete sentences must have a subject and a verb. So the cleaning and restoration of this is this. Great. Or look over here. One cannot merely take a scrub brush to a century's old great work. One is your subject. Take is your verb. Every complete sentence must have a subject and a verb. That was not the case with applying chemicals, washing away grime, scrubbing off dirt. I mean, yeah, applying is a verb, washing is a verb, scrubbing is a verb, but where's your subject? Who's doing that, right? I don't know, right? If you just put a semicolon, that's a problem. So we'll see more of that down the road. But because you're listing things, you got to go see. That's the purpose of the colon.
Okay, so if you say like, I'm going to the grocery store and I need to get many things. Dog food, baby wipes, and cucumbers. That's a list, so you have double dot. That's how I remember it. I just remembered if it's a grocery list kind of thing, double dot, no comma on the bottom.
Right. Mhm.
Okay, that's,
It's like the dot dot and then the dot dot.
yeah, the difference in the name, colon, semicolon, right?
Mhm.
So semi is when there's a comma stuck on it.
And
Yeah.
that one you need, there needs to be a complete sentence.
For semicolon,
Right.
before and after. Correct. Yeah.
Two dots means a list is coming up.
But
It's-
a colon could also be used to elaborate on what you're saying, or like if I were to say, um, there's a reason why I like living in California, colon, I love the weather here. You could do a colon afterwards because I'm explaining why I like.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll
okay.
talk about that later. I don't want to get into that today. That's next
Okay.
week.
Okay,
Not because it's starting 2 weeks.
okay, that's gonna be 2 weeks. I'll need to learn that too, because I always have to. When I'm working with the girls, I have to look that back up.
Okay, for
Okay.
five's about verb usage. So without having read this, I know the answer is D. I know it's D because 3 of those choices are all singular. Is, has, was. I could be wrong. Actually, I don't want to look like a jackass. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be D because A, B, C are all singular. Is, has, and was. Let's read it. Dan Simmons' novel Hyperion is an award-winning work of science fiction that draws on literary classics such as Canterbury Tales, to the Big Pilgrims, who blah blah blah, whatever. Okay, fine, I'm just gonna keep reading. One reason for the book's acclaim. Actually, that's not the subject. Let me keep going. One reason for the book's acclaim is that the future world it imagines is vivid, and its continuities with the contemporary. Okay, there we go. So there's 2 subjects. One reason, fine, and then it is fine. Its continuities. Continuities is plural. With a contemporary world are clearly defined. Now, it should be present tense. Everything's present tense here regardless. Like is. So you're gonna go present tense. So I'm gonna get rid of C. But why do A and B don't work? Because you're talking about the continuities, that's plural. So you need a plural verb.
Subject, if the subject is plural, we.
Gotta go R. Yep, gotta go R.
The verb has to be plural also.
And they trick you because they put world, but it's not the subject.
And
It's
one
continuity
reason.
with that world.
Yeah.
The
I
continuities.
think this is for you guys, you did not have a lot of grammar at Seton, their
Oh,
elementary.
grammar's lost art. They don't even teach it in high school anymore.
Yeah,
Or even
but
middle
they
school.
didn't get it in elementary either.
Yeah. And ironically, actually, I learned more about grammar terminology when I took Spanish in high school than English class. So, yeah. Even then, it took me a while to find out grammar much later in life. The 9. Okay, 9 is transitions. Oof, these are not my favorite. These would be incredibly subtle.
Hmm.
Well, B, I think is pretty obvious as a contrast. A is cause and effect. Like, you say, the Bay Area has high cost of housing, therefore people can't afford to buy a house. Something like that, right? Similarly, is like more if you're just saying something's the same as something else, like California, or similar to California, Texas is also hot. I don't know. For instance, just an example, but let's see what's going on here. In 1940s, Hollywood films were characterized by grand conflicts and even grander emotions. The films of Japanese director Yasujiro Ozu's late period blanked work with a much smaller canvas, usually with a very few sets, limiting the scenes to a character's office kitchen. Okay, here's the thing. They said beforehand there are grand conflicts and grander emotions, and then they talk about small. There's clearly a contrast. So the films of this person late period, however, worked with a much smaller canvas, usually with blah, blah, blah. So you have to contrast because it's smaller compared to grander. So you have to look for the evidence. These are tougher because you really have to dig a little deep. I don't think we'll talk about that today, but in 2 weeks we'll talk about it. So, okay, cool. All right. Okay. All right. So, and then we won't worry about that. Let's look at the math. I did look at the math earlier today. I think it's gonna be ones near the end. They're gonna be a little more challenging. Yeah, let's talk about 12. How about 17? Okay. Let's look at 12, 17 right now. Here we go. Oh, thank you for having AC in here. It's very nice and comfortable.
What's that?
Air conditioning. Thank you for
Oh,
having.
you're welcome.
It's warm today.
The old one up there, and it was really hard to control. Sometimes we were blasting out and freezing.
Well, those are very good ones once you have that one. You have that there, you know.
Yeah, so it's, I'm
Okay.
glad. And I keep it on. If you get cold, let me know, because
No, it's great.
I tend to keep it on too much.
Here, 12. So this is dealing with quadratic functions, which if you haven't had algebra 2 yet, you probably haven't had enough practice with this yet. But it's a parabola, they say so. X minus a squared intersects a line defined by y equals 36. The x coordinate of q is greater than the x coordinate of p, which of the following order pairs represents the coordinates of p. So you want to pick the one with the lower x coordinate. You can do a couple things. I mean, if you know how to do the sketch, more power to you. The sketch looks like this. The reason why I know that is because when you see the -8, and you'll learn about this in algebra 2, you shift 8 right. Plus, if I plug in 8 for x, I should get 0 for y. 8 minus 8 is 0, 0 squared. So that's why it sits there. Y equals 36 is a horizontal line. So that's what we expect the graph to look like. To solve it, you do a few things. You could set them equal to each other. And then you can like expand it, you could square root, you could do all these things. I can show you all the algebra. As a math teacher, I'd love to show you that. As a test prep tutor, I do not care. I want you to Desmos. So go to Desmos. Go, not ESPN. Here we go. NBA Finals is happening, but it's okay, I don't care. So y equals x minus 8 squared. Y equals 36. Zoom out. And you
No.
have 2. You want the lower x coordinate? 2, 36, done. Took me like 10 seconds.
So this
Okay.
is, and they can use this during the test.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yes.
yeah, and students of mine who have taken this test told me they've seen questions like this. So yeah. Yeah, you totally could use this. You will. It will be on the you'll have it. Yeah. No, it's on the app. You will have it. Just use it. I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to. It's your choice, but you should.
Do you go for the math portion?
How long do you get?
Yeah.
22, each module is 35 minutes. And you have 22 questions each. So you get about a minute and a half per question. So again, I know I'm fast, but you get a minute and a half. You totally could do that in a minute and a half, punching it in and find the point of intersection. Now, if you were to do it by hand, it would look like this. And then you could square root both sides if you wanted to, but you got to put plus or minus 6 though. So you have to remember to put the plus or minus. Then you add 8 to the other side. So 8 plus 6 or 8 minus 6, and that's why 2 works. Because 8 minus 6 is 2. So you could do it that way. If you were more roundabout about it, you could say 36 equals x squared minus 16x plus 64. That's kind of crazy, and they move that 36 over. Okay, this is where my handwriting's staying. I need a guy stylus. Should have told my kids to get that for my Father's Day, but anyway. Yeah, then you got factored afterwards, but why would you do that to yourself? I wouldn't do that. So it wouldn't be a good idea. So I just cleared that because I don't think we should do it. We should use Desmos.
So do you guys have the app yet and tried working with Desmos yet?
Yeah, I did it last night.
Yeah.
Or just if you don't have to, I mean, yes, you should have the app, and we'll talk about it for practice tests in a couple or in 3 weeks. But
Yeah.
but when you're doing the homework, just pull up Desmos on your laptop. Just go to the website. That's all. Just Desmos.com. Okay, 17, another great example. I did actually, I think, briefly talk about this last week, I think. So this is another quadratic equation. 3x squared minus bx plus 12. So b is a positive constant, has exactly one real solution. Okay. So what that means is that it's going to be a parabola. We know that now, something squared. Parabolas could look like this, where they cross the x-axis twice. They could also miss the x-axis, so you have no points of intersection, the x-axis. So this would be no solution. Or it could look like this.
With one.
And that's what we want. We want that. We want one real solution. So what's happening here is we're doing the graphical and algebraic connection, which has not been made clear to you if you haven't had algebra 2 yet. If you're in pre-calculus, you've seen it. You'll see it again in pre-calculus. But that's what that means. When it's one real solution, you want the graph to touch the x-axis. Because when you set equal to 0, I only want one solution, not two, not none. I want one. So now, how do I figure that out? What would I do? Well, that's where Desmos comes to the rescue again. And again, my short-term memory stinks. So I already forgot the rest of the problem. What was it again? It was minus bx plus 12. Okay, there. Thank you. Minus bx plus 12. Minus bx plus 12. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna add the slider so I could play around with this. Right now it's not touching, right? So I'm gonna move this around. You see as I'm moving around, it kind of gets closer. And also they said something about b being positive or negative. What did they say? Okay. There's a minus built into it. So yes. So I need to make sure that's positive. Okay, so see, I go this way, I'm not touching it. So I'm gonna increase this. So you can let's say increase it to 30. So I can keep sliding. Okay, now I went too far. So I need to just it gets really sensitive. So sometimes it may not be the best strategy, but you can see when I do 12, it's just oh geez, very sensitive. See how it just sits on it? And even if you click on it, you see it sits on it right there. So you just play around with it and you'll get the answer. And so the answer is going to be 12. 12 guarantees it. So that's also another advantage of Desmos. Now you could, if you want, do the quadratic formula. Maybe you guys probably might remember that. Negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then you have to recognize the fact that, well, I need the b squared minus 4ac part to be 0. Because if that goes away, then you're stuck with just one answer, negative b over 2a. The plus minus just vanishes. If the b squared minus 4ac equals 0. But see, that's a conceptual thing which you guys haven't learned yet. And also sometimes in the moment of taking a test, you might not think do that. So that's why just lean on Desmos, lean on something that's reliable. You know Desmos is reliable. But of course, you need practice with this, right? We're going to practice these skills. I'm going to give you lots of practice like this so that you do over and over and over and over again until your brain is wired to do that. So they'll take time. It doesn't happen right away. That's why test prep takes time. It's not anything happens overnight. Then what else we got? Just a couple more, then we'll get to the packets. I know I'm kind of taking my sweet little time with this, but I think it's important we talk about it. So I'll have to kind of fly over some of these other stuff in the packets. We'll talk about 20 and okay, we should talk about 24 actually. Okay, 20, 22, and 24. And then we'll move on to the packets. Okay.
24 is important.
Actually, yeah. Okay, 20.
So you need 5 responses, so all of you 5 handed in your homework, right? So it must have been Brianna that did it,
Probably not. Actually, I can tell you right now.
just to make sure that way. But you guys all,
Yeah, she is not yet. That's okay.
okay,
I knew she.
Okay, number 20. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, we'll have to find out if she's sticking with it or if she's not gonna do it, yeah, well,
She has work, right?
what's that?
She has work right
It
now?
had to work, but
Okay.
I texted everybody last night that
Okay.
they had to get it too.
Yeah. So for 20, what's going on here? Matthew constructs a fence around a patch of grass. The patch is a width of 8 feet more, 4 times the length, the perimeter, blah, blah, blah. So draw for geometry question. You don't see too many geometry questions, but draw. So I'll make this X. So then the width is 8 feet more than 4 times the length. So 8 plus 4x. Does that make sense?
Broken,
Huh?
stuck there the whole time.
Well, what did it give us? The perimeter, right? Oh, sorry. No, sorry, they want the perimeter. They gave us the area, right? Area is going to be length times width, right? So did you at least have that?
Kind of like this. This.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Oh, you have to multiply. So what you had to do, you had to do x times 8 plus 4x. Because you have to multiply length and width. You only have the width equal to 5472.
Oh, that's it. And then you just have to solve it.
Correct. Right. So you guys see how I did that? The length. So this is yeah, everyone's done geometry, right? So this is one dimension. Actually, let me get this here. Here we go. Yeah, so this is my length, and that's my width. So x times 8 plus 4x equals 5472. Now, if you want to solve this by hand, go for it. Don't. Again, we're gonna use Desmos again. Desmos to the rescue, right? So I'm gonna type in the first equation because you want to see where they touch. 8 plus 4x. Even I would not do this in my head. I would totally use Desmos. And then zoom out. Okay, it's 5472. So, oh geez, we have to really, really zoom out. Oh, wait, that's stupid. Y equals, there we go. Wait, what? Wait, okay, let me just close that. It's being stupid now. Y equals 5472. Okay, there we go. Great. Okay, we don't want a negative answer. It doesn't make any sense. There we go, 36. So x is 36. Great. If x is 36, then I could get the perimeter. Don't do this in your head, but I think it's 152. Use a calculator, please.
Stop that.
So that should be, again, don't do this in your head, 188. I think it's 376. I trust you guys can add in your calculator, so, right. But that's what you gotta do. So again, draw, label, follow the directions, areas out, length times width, and then use Desmos to solve. And then, of course, work out. This is definitely a module 2 question.
Go over 13.
Sure, yeah. And then we'll do 22 and 24 after that. But yes, again, we'll definitely go over these in more detail later times. Okay, this one here, you have to make 2 equations. So you don't know the amount of gas and diesel fuel. So if I think about it, I'll let X be, I'll just do this. G plus D equals 131. 3.25 G plus 3D equals 404.25. Does that make sense?
System.
And guess what I'm going to use? Solve it.
Doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it by hand. I'm not going to waste my time. And just see where they touch. But they want diesel. Diesel's going to be the Y coordinate because the word I put it in. So do you see how the equations work?
Just like the-
Oh, no worries. Okay, so I did G plus D equals 131.
Yeah, I got that.
And then the other one's going to be, I use the money. 3.25 G plus 3D equals 404.25.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
And then use Desmos to solve it.
Getting new glasses, so
No worries.
this won't be a.
Yep. Last two for math and then talk about the packets and we'll do a little break. 22. This is a tricky one. This you have to interpret here. Okay. I don't know what ranking is, rankine. I don't know what that is, but apparently that's R. Okay. And C Celsius, of course, I know that. So think of it like this. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. 1.8 is your m. 491.67 is your b. Okay. So they want you to interpret 491.67. Does that make sense what I just did? Okay. So 491.67 is your b. So if I plug in 0 for c, if c equals 0, the r value is 491.67. That's what y-intercepts ever are. They're just the y value and x is 0. So that's all it is. It's a temperature when you have 0 degrees Celsius, and that's why it's D. That's all it is.
So.
I know. I know. Of course, they're going to word it weird. But you haven't done a practice of interpretation of slope. That's what we'll do as well. Now, if they ask what 1.8 represents, that's slope. So that means that, now what is slope? The change in y or change in x, right? So every time x goes up by 1, y goes up by 1.8, right? If you have 1.8, it's like that goes up by 1. Y, so then you would say, for every time the Celsius goes up by 1, the ranking goes up by 1.8. That was true for A. If they asked what 1.8 represented, then A would have been the correct answer. Because you do go up by 1.8 degrees when the Celsius goes up by 1 degree. So, yeah. And then, okay, yeah, you guys don't learn this yet. Oh, if you're in altitude, maybe you've seen it. Oh gosh, I could barely read that. Let me zoom in.
Yeah. I've seen it. This was on my final.
Okay.
We had a whole set of like, it was like 12 questions just of these.
You guys did this in geometry?
No, not for two.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, yes, right. Because you're pre-calculus, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So just so you guys, for those who are new to this, yeah, I know you haven't seen this yet. If you see something like this here, it's the same thing as saying x to the 1/4 power. This is brand new. This is a new concept for those who have not algebra 2 yet. If you ever see a radical with a little number to the left of it, it's actually a fraction exponent. That's what it is. So I know you guys have seen this before, like root 25, and you know it's 5, right? Because 5 times 5 is 25. It's also the same thing as saying this. It's the same exact thing. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to rewrite it like this: 6 to the 4 power y parentheses 1/4 times 3 times 5 to the 7th power y to the 28th power raised to the 1/7. Now, if you think about it, you guys have seen this before, I think, hopefully. You guys remember what that is? If you have 2 cubed raised to the 2nd power, that's 2 to the 6, right? Because you're doing 2 cubed twice, exactly. So whenever you have a fraction exponent, or any exponent really, on the outside, you actually distribute it. So you're going to multiply this to 4 and that to there. The 3 is a standalone, just 3 is just hanging out there. Multiply the 1/7 to the 7 and that to the 28. If you distribute it correctly, you should have 6 to the 1 power, y to the 1/4 power, there's still a 3, 5 to the 1 power, because 7 times 1/7 is 1, and 28 times 1/7 is 4. I know, a lot going on here. 6 times 3 times 5, that's 90. And then when you have two powers of the same base, you add the exponents. So that's 4.25. Because you're adding 4 to 1/4. So their C value is 90. Your K value is 1/4, sorry, 4.25. And you simply subtract the two together. And whatever that is, that's 85.75, I think. That is totally module 2 type questions. We'll get there. We're several weeks away from that. No, the Y's don't cancel at all. No, you're just combining. You're multiplying the powers.
So I wrote it in this way for that y, and then I have this y. so
Yeah, but
it's-
then you have to, what you're doing, you're not doing the fourth root of y to the 4. You're doing the fourth root of y times y to the 4 power. So think of it this way.
Okay.
Yeah, well, what if we had this, right? We have something like this here. I know that's 2 times 16, which is 32. They wouldn't cancel out, right? Or I could have done this. That root 4 times 4 squared. That's 4 to the 1/2 times 4 squared. That's 4 to the 2.5 power. And then if you were to work that out, that would be 32. But again, this is a little bit one cart for the horse.
I went like a minute, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, so I just want to show it to you just so you see it. We're going to talk about this later on because I do have something built into our program. Like we'll do module 2 type questions later in the summer. This is totally a module 2 type question. We'll explore this at a later time. But yeah, I just felt like at least give you kind of a
We
heads
can
up.
The last.
Sure.
Seamless cake.
Yeah. Let me
And should they like YouTube anything they don't understand? And-
I'll provide that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think once we get more, once we get deeper with the stuff and we do like practice tests, then I'll suggest that. For now, I'm just explaining it. I mean, but they haven't practiced, right? You need to practice this, right? I mean, I don't expect you guys to know it after me telling you, like, oh, here's it, just do it. You have to practice and get your hands dirty with this. So I'm just teaching right now. I'm showing you, but we're gonna come back to this. And again, that's okay if it's still not making sense. Don't worry about it. It will make sense when we get to it in a few weeks. But since everyone missed it, I want to talk about it. So do you see how C is 90 though?
Yeah, I just.
Yeah, I'll say that. Yeah, and then K is 4.25 when I add the exponents and I subtract the 2. So
So is that, so your answer is the
85.75.
Yes, do subtract it.
Yeah, you have to subtract these 2.
It's a long step problem.
Wait, I didn't.
Yes, it is.
Beginning.
Like do you know what the
Like,
radicals?
So like answer, because that's usually what my teacher would make us do, is we only had to give the answer, but we never had to like minus it. That's why I was like confused.
Yeah, you want to show the process. Oh, this is different. Oh, yes. You got the final answer, but you didn't do that. So you had to identify. So see, they told you that the final form takes on that form. CYK, where C is the number to the left of Y and K is the exponent. No, you don't do this in school. This is not a school problem for sure. I mean, some of it is the combining of the radicals, but the overall the overall answer, no, it's something that's unique to the SAT, right? Totally unique to the SAT. Okay, so we've covered quite a bit. Let's take a little break right now. Let's say like maybe at 7:30. We'll just and then for 30 minutes when we come back, I'm going to talk about the packets and kind of just do an overview. We'll do like a handful of prompts from each, and then homework will be those packets.
And they're gonna have 2 weeks.
You have 2 weeks exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what I will do, the more I think about it now, I think I will make some brief video lessons on these packets and share that with you. I should be able to do that by tomorrow. And so, because you might just so you kind of understand like how those work, but I'm still gonna do an overview of each of the packets. But let's just take a little break right now. Because I know I've gone over quite a bit.
Have you guys tried this? It's really good too. It's like tomatoes and olive oil and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff in there, so. And then
Well, thank you for
any more?
which have a
There's
we'll
more
put here.
of those. Should I cook those little green guys?
the oregano. Yes,
Yeah.
I grew up on that. That's
I have a couple more.
well, we call it like za'atar, which is like the ground oregano. Yeah.
He's fantastic.
Or za'atar, people would mispronounce it. That's called za'atar. Yeah.
Yeah, how do you pronounce it?
It's za'atar.
Oh, not.
ZAATAR is how it's spelled. But like the pronunciation is kind of weird. Like you see it like it's funny because like my wife will watch like the Great British Bake Off and there one guy was making it with a thick British accent called za'atar. I'm like laughing. That's not how you say it, dude. I know you got a British accent, but like anyway.
Yeah.
But it's ground oregano.
Ground oregano.
You block
Okay.
your carbon
That's mozzarella cheese or something, some kind of.
Ooh.
I'll get some more.
Yeah,
Bro.
it's awesome.
His name's probably gonna be spelled weird like this. Okay, I don't know if I spell Sean. There's like 50 ways. Sean. Bro, not that way. What are the other ways? Yeah, that one's first one.
That's his name?
Yeah.
Oh, I know who it is. He's literally the church guy.
Yeah, he is the church guy. Bro. Anyways.
Ooh, very good.
I told Kim, I was like, usually I just play games on my phone. She's like, I don't know, yo, like play Roblox. I found this really new fun game on Roblox. It's actually so fun. It's like a nurse game. Like you're like a nurse or whatever. You know, you like protest.
Something on Roblox is crazy.
No, I just wanted to see because I saw it on TikTok, but
You
there was
really go out in person?
bruh, I was busy that day. Wait, was I busy on Saturday?
I couldn't.
Oh, where were the protests?
My mommy didn't.
Like San Jose, like the No King's Day thing.
So I took my kids to Burger King as a silent protest because like I don't like Burger King, but like just and I think Trump is like kind of like an idiot like the Burger King. So I don't know. That was my way of silent protest with my kids. We ate at Burger King. So yeah.
Don't worry, you don't see it. You don't
Oh
see
my
it.
gosh, you scared me.
You can just
Wait, I would
silence.
start doing that. Wait, you're smart. Wait, is this a picture of his dog?
So mean.
How am I mean? I'm not mean. Do you want to see my ASMR get ready with me?
Oh,
Let me see. Like put on some doesn't hurt me to do it. I'm that big, bro.
I had to cancel it because I have taco boots.
Yours was tomorrow too.
Pretty good.
Mine is tomorrow too, and I had to cancel it.
We're another.
Me too.
Slow it down.
What I'm doing now?
Mine was at like from like six.
It says it right on it, and I didn't know what it was
No,
called, but
but-
it's right on there.
Five or five.
Mine was 5:30 to 6.
So then mine is
And
6 to like 6.
I can edit it on TikTok. It's really easy.
Wait, when'd you move your sleep?
I can't. She wants
You
to
just like
go
take
July,
clips
but
out.
I
But
don't.
anyways.
I can't.
I hadn't moved mine to July 10th.
I feel like you're really. What time are you going?
I said anytime.
No.
She said she'd get back to me. I was like, alright.
Well, she told me I had to go July 10th 6 to 6:30, but I can't do July 10th 6 to 6:30 because I have Pennsylvania on Thursdays.
Bro, he's so fine shy. Have you seen him?
Side bow, bro.
Wait,
You got a
is-
man for
Is he not fine shy? Bro, what the?
I just sent it to her again, but she just said.
Oh my gosh, how?
No, he is, but he's old.
What?
He's not old.
He's going for
He's
birthday.
like 17.
You know how you have to go visit a couple?
I said I'm on Dave's birthday.
I got excused.
I think somebody gets you too because they're high program.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go to my.
And Ryan was like, you have
20.
to do it since you went to one last year.
Wait, me too.
You just excuse me.
Might be coming to my place.
Hmm.
Let me do her tour.
Look at this. Look at this funny picture. It's a guy standing on the baby. Look. No, that bro. How is that not funny? You guys are so weird. Want to see my funny pictures on Pinterest?
No.
Bro, you're man.
Bro, you show funny reels and they're not even funny.
They are funny. Why does everyone say that? You're just a hater. Like they are funny. No.
Guys, I really like this song.
Hummus is really good. This bread is good. I'm sending it to you. Wow, they sure did this one.
No, I'm so quick for this. So you know this is kind of long.
I did.
What's that? Mm-hmm.
Low key, this is a lot of reading.
We got 2 weeks.
You don't get a math packet?
We will. Yeah.
But
Is the. Should I read that?
Yeah.
Like, I really like the hummus. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. We literally finished the whole thing. Well, look,
I've never liked hummus.
I can make better. I'll make it sometimes, yeah. My mom's really good at it, but I learned from her. That's the packaged one's okay. Actually, the store, which this Meg bought it from, they make fresh hummus. We should tell her to buy some from there. They have really good stuff. It's just down the street from here.
do you go there, though?
I've been there a handful of times. They actually have like if you like dolmas or other Middle Eastern food or yeah, or other meat dishes. They do catering too. Um, if I'm buying ingredients, I'll go there. It's actually easy to get to because there's another store in San Mateo, but it's off hills, so the parking is really tough. So I like the store better. Yeah.
It's your house. Because my I have like a thing that I have to do and it's right next to Lee's house.
What?
You know the office is right next to your house. Wait,
I don't.
That's on my eye. No,
Wait, what day are you
the 26th.
Bruh.
You're Swiss? Are you working at the library?
No. Her
Okay.
mom's like, you should in library. I'm like,
I'm not going to the game.
but no. I'm like sad because I was so excited for the summer. I'm like, I'm so tired of these people, like you know, and then like it's the summer, I'm just not doing anything. I just want to go back so bad. I just like thinking about all the fun moments I had.
I still don't know why.
How sad.
Your date's like really crisp and fast.
Yeah, well, yeah, totally.
Just like more quick next time.
No, that works. Yeah.
It's like
No, you hit it perfectly. Yeah.
I got it at Real Produce. You know where that is, honey, right?
I do.
Yeah, like when you walk up towards my house, but it's to the right, there's sort of a big grocery store that. Oh,
It's right El Camino. Yeah, it's good.
It's Mia's in the neighborhood, yeah.
I was about to say the hummus is you should get the fresh hummus from there.
You know
And
what?
that'd be a raw package.
I
Yeah.
will get the fresh hummus. I didn't, sometimes.
Well, 2 weeks because you're not here next week, right?
2 weeks.
Yeah,
Sometimes I get the fresh hummus and there's not a lot of takers, but everybody loves it today, so I'll get their
The
fresh.
hummus is good.
And they have like baba ganoush and they have other.
They have all that stuff. Dolmas. The dolmas are really good too.
I was almost gonna get you guys like the dolmas or the samosas or whatever. Isn't there something? They have a lot of things in the case.
Yeah, they have there's some other like pies and whatnot. And then if you want to even go deeper, you could like get like falafels or shawarma or stuff like that. But you don't have to go that
Yeah.
far. But we actually cater
Tasting everything too. It's
no
fun.
we, for our department party. You remember Rory Davidson? He was or Tiana Davidson. Yeah, so their dad Greg teaches with me at Sacred Heart, and we did
This is dad.
yeah, Greg, yeah, he used to be a lawyer, and he retired from the law profession. Yeah, he
When he teaches math,
teaches math. Yeah,
tell Steve.
and so we had a department party at his house, and he ordered from Real Produce, and we did a whole spread. It was amazing.
I could do med wraps, but I'm gonna try that next time. And I have a lot of friends that are vegetarian, so.
That's perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Rory did a party when they graduated and he had
Like for me, I have.
that, it was like the melt something. you know,
Okay.
like, parked behind his house and other things, they.
What year was Steven again from Sacred Heart?
2014.
14. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
it's 2013, yeah. So I always have to go back, yeah.
All right, I think we're ready to.
So you guys like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll get more hummus next time. What about the other one? Do you like the red one?
Tried it.
It's. Grab my phone.
Yeah.
You guys can count on it.
I swear, there's sometimes I can wait to just sit there. And they have like.
I'm so broke and unemployed. It's actually so like I want a job so bad. But, like I'm 15, so like no one's gonna hire me.
Brandy and milk.
Brandy Melville.
Oh, you would totally be a good.
Yeah, I know, but like, I'm too young.
You'd be so mean there. You'd be like judging everybody
Oh,
walking.
well, I would be good.
You
know,
tutor
loves
one-on-one
something.
math,
Walking
right?
through the
Yes.
store.
I have a student who wants to come in.
I never
and
buy
a
anything.
boy. who's,
Okay.
Okay, right, quick, really quick at 8 o'clock, can I just say a quick?
Sure. Oh, no problem.
Oh.
Okay, let's get started. So you have two reading and writing packets in front of you. And the topics that we're going to go over, I think I showed these guys last time.
Hey, honey. Eric's coming by, so maybe they can take you home rather than having you around.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are the two we're talking about: craft and structure and information ideas. Now the one that says words and context is craft and structure. So I know I should have labeled it better. The see where it says words and context, one of the packets says that. So that's going to have, this pack is going to have 3 question types: words and context, as well as text structure and purpose, and cross-text connections. We'll do one of each just so you kind of get a taste of how that looks. And again, as I said, I'll make a video on this to help you guys. So words and context, they just will say like, what does this word mean in the passage, right? Or they might have you fill in the blank. So let's skip to say number 5, because that's more traditional of what you'll see. There's a paragraph or a couple or 2 or 3 sentences. There's a blank, and you got to figure out what should go in the blank. Now looking at these words are not terribly hard, especially socialistic. We kind of hear that often when we listen to politics. Commercial, we know what commercials are, but also commercial means business. Philosophic and philanthropic.
Dibby.
I'll read it first. You're ahead of me. You found it faster than I am. A blank society, a society whose civilization is shaped by market transactions, okay, is always likely to reflect the appetites and preferences of common men and women. Each may not have much money, but there are so many of them that their tastes are decisive. So market transactions, money, financial, commercials, financial. So like, for example, when you talk about like real estate, like, if you were to sell this house or buy this house, it's residential. If you go down the California Ave, where you have like the restaurants and the shops, that's commercial real estate. So you hear that often used as many times to describe real estate. Commercial is business, residential obviously is homes, but commercial deals with money, right? Or commercial on TV, they pay money and they're trying to advertise their product, right? So
what's philosophic and what's philanthropic? What's philanthropic? Do you know those words?
No.
Yeah.
No, not philanthropy. I
So
feel like it's
philanthropy is
human.
like SB2 and some of the work that I do. That's
What?
philanthropy.
Like human thing.
Yeah, like giving your time or your money to
like Mark Zuckerberg and his wife, they do philanthropy now, right?
yeah. Or like Cece when she came into the poetry, that's her nonprofit organization, right? It's sort of that's philanthropy.
Okay, this is fun. We're gonna break down the words. Okay, anthropology, study of culture, study of people. Anthro is a root for human, man. Phil is love. Like, for example, if you have a phobia, like if you're arachnophobia, you're afraid of spiders or whatever phobia you have, or you're afraid of claustrophobia. But Phil, like a bibliophile, loves books, or hydrophilic, loves water. Anything Phil deals with love. So love of humans. A philanthropist loves people. They're going to help people, or they're going to donate their time or money or whatever for good causes. So philanthropy, hopefully that breakdown of words could help.
We got a book I'll show to you. I wonder if those are in there. We haven't gotten that far. Are they both in there?
Phil is. I don't know
Okay.
about.
Anthro?
But Anthro deals with people. So
It's a Merriam-Webster book of roots and
Great.
stems and vocabulary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and philosophical just means like you're deep in thought. The philosophy that helps, like that's. But yeah, so I want to make sure we saw that question. Then I want to do another flyby with the next topic. So we're gonna skip to structure and purpose. And actually, number 1's a great one. So they give you a passage, they underline a portion of it, and they're asking you to describe why do we have that portion? What is the purpose of it? How does it serve purpose in the text as a whole, right? So the best thing to do, let's just read silently. Give my voice a break as well. I'm gonna read it too. And I've never seen this one. So I could be wrong. I'm not perfect.
You're not? Uh-oh, you gotta go.
Can we turn the lights on too?
Sure.
Because that's not, my eyesight's not perfect either, so. Thank you.
37.
Straight up. Sorry. No, so 22. Oh, 22, we're on page 22. Structure and purpose. Oh, yeah, we want to go back. You want too far.
Do you want her on the couch?
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Yes. Okay. So the one about Hiroshima, A Soldier's View, published in 1981 in the New Republic. Let's read that. Read it to ourselves, and then we'll share our thoughts on what we think the function is.
Ooh, tough one.
I think there are a couple we could probably throw away. I'm kind of torn between two choices. But I think I have a feeling what it could be. Take your time. No rush. Yeah, it's a really tough question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading it and then I just like.
I have an answer. We'll see.
That's something, yeah.
Hmm?
I read it and then I forgot what it was about and then I reread it.
Yeah.
What I was doing.
I know.
We don't
When I
have-
go back to see Steve, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
to Hiroshima. I haven't, I haven't.
Okay, what do you guys think? It's a tough one.
I'm in between A and B.
Okay, well, it's one of those two is correct.
Wait, love it.
I was thinking.
Okay, here's why C is out. Because it's too extreme. It says can never be conclusively decided. Rarely do you have extreme choices. That's why I get rid of C. Because the
Okay,
word
you do
never.
that when there's really extreme, when the word never.
Yeah, I would get rid of C for that reason alone. It is B. Yeah. Now D, it implies that questions about the past are meaningless because the past remains a past. That's just weird. I don't like that.
Oh.
D's just a weird choice. Yeah, kind of in some ways. I mean, it's very definitive, but I like how they start with B with it suggests. So it's kind of like,
Yeah,
being very neutral. Um, And so this is unfair because it says unanswerable. That's why it's unfair. And it seems like it would lean towards, I guess, Jaworski. He came into deadly contact with the Japanese. He was on his way to the Pacific when the war ended. Because they say here that unlike was it effective, was it really necessary? And so, yeah, probably not, right? And so that's what they're trying to say there. So it's tricky. If you look at A, domestic Americans are still so deeply divided. I'm not saying about Americans in general. I mean, they're probably two different people, but I don't know if we can really say that.
They don't say
Yeah.
Americans or.
Yeah, right.
The other thing I thought was, I got B, and one of the things I thought was rhetorically, right? I thought that was a hint because of the question mark. So rhetorical question is one that's sort of left without an answer, something that imposes thinking. And then when I look back at it too, I looked at, okay, does it lean towards Jaworski? And then the fact that he never saw combat, that he, so that, but if it had said lean towards Elsa, right, then it would have, so there were a few things in there, but it was very complicated.
Where's your
What's that?
outlets?
Oh, yeah, I don't know where my outlets are. Let me see. Well, there's one behind you, right up there.
Oh.
Unplug the top thing.
Okay. Perfect.
And yeah, stick it in there.
The rhetorical was like it answers itself.
Well, rhetorical is, well, kind of, it's like, have you ever, well, like, give it, yeah, I'll let Gus answer that. Rhetorical question?
I mean, it's more just it's not really you're looking for an answer to the question, really, necessarily when something's rhetorical.
Yeah, thought provoking.
Yeah, just something to think about, but not anything that would necessarily you would answer, which why it's unanswerable. So trying to think of a good example. I sometimes go blank when I try to think of
Yeah,
rhetorical questions, but
okay, like one of the things my mother taught me when I was young. If somebody asks you a question that seems sort of inappropriate or something, you say, why on earth would you ask such a question? That's kind of a rhetorical. You're not expecting them to answer you back, but you're sort of deflecting the need to answer. You know what I mean? You're
Right.
sort of, and
Yeah.
maybe they'll answer. So, but that's not a really good example. Rhetorical would be sort of like sometimes when you write your essays, um, um, like if you write 1984 or something, was Winston part of the system, or you know what I mean? Like that's sort of a rhetorical question that's you're opening it up for argument, sort of. Is that right,
yeah,
guys?
I'd agree. Yeah. Let's move on to cross-text connections. And
I'm eating all this pepper. Does anybody want any more pepper?
No, thank you.
let's do number one. There's a tough word there. If you look at choice D, don't worry if you know what that word means. We'll come back to that in a moment. But again, what I like you to do is read text one. This is on page 37. So read text one, read text two, and the question is which of the following would best describe both girls as they're portrayed in text one and two?
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So we're reading both text one and text two.
Correct. Okay, so this is obviously written over 100 years ago. Now, careful if you say the girls are pretty. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I- yeah, I don't, it's just that seems weird. I don't know why you would not necessarily say that. Intelligent, I'm not sure if I see anything that indicates their high level of intelligence. Now I'll be honest, I don't know what indolent means. I should. I don't. So I'll be totally honest. But as I look at this, if it's not gonna be relaxed, then I would have chosen indolent for sure, and just I've just gone with, especially with module two, because module two will have tough words. But when I look at the evidence, reclined, full radiant curiosity, nonchalant, they're kind of at ease. If you're doing something nonchalantly, you're kind of just, not you're not really burdened by anything, right? You're kind of at peace. Also, gaze down sleepily, start to yawn. Her mind, change her mind and continue silently. These are all indications that someone's kind of like relaxed or at peace. And that's why I would go B, that one. And actually, I should look at indolent.
Indolent means, I just looked it up, it means a burst of activity, effort, or movement, habitually
Lazy,
lazy.
yeah,
Showing an inclination towards
Yeah.
laziness.
yeah.
Nonchalant.
And-
Wait, can
and-
you repeat that? Missy?
lazy.
Yeah.
Indolent means lazy.
It means lazy, yeah. Now, Ari, was I with you and, did I give someone a definition of indolent recently? I don't think so. Yeah, okay.
But isn't lazy and relaxed kind of the same thing?
No, that means
An inclination towards laziness, conducive or encouraging laziness.
no, because she's full of radiant curiosity. I wouldn't say that. And she continues silently to regard, like, no, I wouldn't necessarily lazy. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, it means like, you're habitually lazy actually. So yeah. All right, let's look at the next packet. Now the next packet is going to deal with, go back to this website here again. Yeah, information and ideas. And I'm just going to kind of just briefly explain what those are. We're not going to really necessarily go through each of these question types, but just kind of just giving you central ideas, command textual evidence, command quantitative evidence, and inferences, just so you have some practice there. So central ideas, pretty obvious. It's just going to ask about the main idea or the purpose of the passage. Or if you look at this one here, according to the text, at the time of this account, the nearest parents are what? So where are they living, I guess? But most likely it's going to be something kind of like according to the text, according to the text. I'm looking for what's his main idea, because usually you should say main idea. Well, okay. Well, anyway, you're looking for the central idea. That's really what's happening here. So you'd read it and simply answer the question. So a lot of this is going to be pretty black and white. It's not going to be as confusing as some of the other ones we've seen. So yeah, that's just what's happening there for simple ideas and details. Looks like these are more details, though. I thought this would be more main idea questions.
And those questions, there might be something that's true that you actually read, but it's not the central idea and they're trying to throw you off.
Right. I'd
So
agree.
that's when most people get
Right.
it wrong, is because they state a detail and you're like, oh, I saw that in the passage. But you're
Yeah,
not
can't
thinking
answer the
about what the
question.
main idea was. Yeah, it's just one detail.
For quantitative evidence, we've already talked about this earlier. So even though I'm not necessarily going over these questions, we did talk about when we went through your assessment. So you see a bunch of different types of data. Like here we have some bar plots, more bar plots, more of the kind of the same thing. Here you have a graph, more graphs. So we actually, this will be pretty fast. This was not too bad. Let's take a look at numbers. This is the second packet. Let's go to page 77 on the second packet. So what are they talking about? The number of doctorates awarded by US universities from 1970 to year 2000. So just looking at the data itself, we see that it was kind of a flat line, and PhDs awarded. Also, there's a huge rise. If you ask me personally, I'd probably say the end of the Cold War, maybe. I don't know if you want to agree with that, Meg, but
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I always like to speculate. But bottom line is you saw a huge increase after like the late 80s. And then kind of then plateaued around the 90s. So go ahead and read it and tell me what choice you like.
Everybody know what a doctorate is?
Yeah.
Like a PhD? Yeah. Oh, it's this one. It's next to the bottom.
That was so 2 weeks ago.
Wait, no, it wasn't. I just saw my FYP. Oh gosh.
That was like before school ended.
That's so embarrassing. You're lying.
No, because I remember it's still doing it in like school.
Okay, so we guessing about 5.
I said C.
Yeah, that's a C. Yeah, it dipped slightly. Yeah,
Not like all the way down.
correct. Yeah, it wasn't constant during the 70s. It did go up, but according to the same survey, the total number of new research doctors awarded each year, sorry, I said late 1970. Yeah, so there we go. Late 1970s. So if you look at 1975, it's over here. Then 1976, it's there, but then it starts dropping. Yeah. So yeah, I say C probably the most sense for 5. So that's how those questions work. And then we have textual evidence. So these are kind of questions where you're trying to support or go against a claim. And they say which following if true. So it's not necessarily, so they're being speculative or hypothetical. Like here's another, which of the following, if true, will support the professor's claim. That's a classic example where I think we saw that also earlier today, where there's a claim and you want to be able to support it with the right evidence. So you'll see questions like that.
That one looks tricky. I haven't even read it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just wanted to do a quick flyby. I'll have you guys practice that next week, or you have 2 weeks to work on this. And then inferences, that's where you want to logically complete the text. And I think we also saw that too in the assessment. We could probably try one of these really quickly. Let's maybe do, yeah, let's do number 1. So this is page 114.
Number 1.
Number 1, yeah. The one says the passage from OECD Nuclear Energy Agency.
Hmm.
Don't overthink this one. I kind of circled some things here that should help. What do you guys think?
But I feel like it's, I don't know, like I'm in between C and D.
So that's good. You're not saying A or B. So they say here it is easy to imagine that cattle might be scarce, just as buffalo is scarce, if they're owned in common, which means probably public,
Everybody, yeah.
and were taken from one vast domain rather than being private owned. So they're saying that if cattle is scarce, that's not a good thing. And they're saying that they would be scarce if they're owned in public as opposed to privately.
Like no fences.
Yeah. And then while the exact it's like they're supposed to say analogy, but analog. The barbed wire for fishing grounds in the ocean may be hard to conceive. Assigning ownership rights to the ocean should not be much more difficult. So saying if you can assign ownership rights, you should be able to do that. And so if that's possible, then we should do that. And that's what I was saying, D. Private ownership is better than
Can you
public.
go to the last?
Yeah, they're saying that if it's it should not be hard to assign ownership rights to the ocean. Just like how it's not hard to assign ownership rights to radio frequencies, like people own like different radio stations and have rights to radio frequencies. So if that's something that we can do for radio frequencies, we can do the same thing for the ocean. So they're implying that, yeah, it's just probably more beneficial to have private ownership as opposed to, because it's talking about like owning parts of the ocean privately. That's what we're trying to say there.
So what they're saying basically is if there's no boundaries, people just use everything up.
Right.
So they're saying that even though it's hard to think of like
This is your
water's
right.
flowing everywhere, it's hard to think we can create boundaries in the ocean. It is doable with radio frequency, which is no boundaries through air. So it's very difficult to understand, but they're
Right.
it's funny because we studied some groundwater issues in the Central Valley, but which is similar. But so the wordings, I like the way Mr. E underlined things, right? If they were owned in common and were taken from one vast domain rather than being private. Okay, so if you read it really carefully, knowing that the author thinks there should be boundaries on the things that are hard to create boundaries. See if you read it that way, if it makes sense to you. So not that I want to tell you the answer and have you read it back, but then that might clarify it, right? But yeah, that's a really tough one.
Yeah, there's some tough ones.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. All right, I'm handing you 2 more math packets. We're not going to go over it today, but these are actually like module 1 type questions. They should be pretty easy. These are on probability, data tables, some algebra stuff. I will make a video on this and I'll explain it to you guys through the video. So definitely work through that. Did everyone get the math packets? Great. So yeah, so homework will be these packets. It's quite a bit to do. We have 2 weeks. We'll talk about it on June 30th. I'm gonna put the answer. I'll show you. Right now these don't have answers, but I'll put them up, and I'll also send another form as well for you to submit your answers. Yeah, so that's what we'll do. Just work through these packets, and then yeah, we'll meet in 2 weeks. So you have plenty of time, and you might want to get a binder because these are all whole plans, so you can easily get 3-ring binder. You can easily stay organized that way.
You guys want me to send you a 3-ring binder?
Yeah, I think I have one.
Okay, if you don't have one, let me know. And